Elron, I don't want to kind of like pry into your meteorological personal life, but I'm pretty sure earlier today you were indisposed before recording because there was a Category 4 hurricane coming through your neighborhood.
Yes, I'm like 150 miles east of that, but I still caught the bands of it. There was a lot of downed trees. I kind of had to take different route home and all that kind of stuff. It was rough. But honestly, did all this before a billion times, you know. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It's kind of like we know the drill. Most people in Louisiana do. But I think now it's taking longer and longer to recover from some of these storms. And as the people with the money going to come in and take all the nice real estate again. Because really, there's some poor people that live pretty close to that nice lake out there in Lake Charles. And they're not letting that happen again when they rebuild it. That's not going to be allowed. So, and that area is like full of petrochemical plants and a lot of toxic waste and stuff. And one of them plants is on fire right now. I think it's called Biolab. And they make a lot of cleaning products and all that.
Yes.
There's like a big chlorine fire, which is some nasty stuff. I work around that. And what that does to you, like if you get hit with that, basically chlorine gas, when it hits liquid, turns it into acid. So if you breathe it, you like 70% water and shit. So that's like literally fucking World War I
right.
shit, right? The chlorine.
Yeah.
That's what they used was
from
chlorine
the inside
gas.
out. It's got to be a terrible way to die.
Now, you were down there.
Oh,
we
yeah.
might have talked about this before, but you were down there for Katrina, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I tell y'all about that? Do y'all want to hear any about that? I was like...
Absolutely.
Of course. I always want to hear Katrina's story.
I was working the shelters, and I was a special needs shelter. I was working at a shelter the night before it happened, just for old, sick people who like couldn't weather out the storm or like was going to lose power. They needed to be on oxygen or they needed to... they just couldn't be alone. They lost power, they would die because they need all these doohickeys and shit, machines to keep them alive or dialysis. They just need special. Anyway, so I was just like, because I used to work for the state, and part of your job when you work for the state is to be on disaster preparedness and all that. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna make some easy money tonight. They had I think we had a staff of like 12 people, and then Katrina rolled through. I mean, I spent the night. I think I brushed some old dudes' dentures. I helped some other old dude pee in a cup. Fucking gross, man.
Oh, man. Like, get any
yeah, I had gloves on, but it got on the gloves. Like, he turned sideways. I don't know. Y'all want to hear this shit. But anyway, so it was like just doing orderly work in a hospital. And then, like, the next day, we were like, all right, the storm's over with. It was pretty bad. Stuff's knocked up, but we're going to start ramping down. And they were like, y'all ought to be able to leave here by like 10 a.m. And it was about to leave. And then we got a call. They was like, hey, y'all don't leave yet. The dams and the levees in New Orleans just broke. And we're like, oh, shit. And we like pretty close to New Orleans. We're south of New Orleans, but we didn't get hit the way they got hit. I'm to the west of them, southwest. And by the afternoon, there was just busloads of people coming. And it was just soaking wet. Just people had got pulled from the water. And we had nowhere to put them. But in a gym, we lost power, too. Like, so there was no power. All we could put them in was like 2 gymnasiums with no power or nothing. And like, so they would get triaged at the building I was at because they had generators to keep the power on. And so like the bus would come and they'd be like, anybody who's sick want to stay in the hospital tonight? Everybody else got to go to the general shelter. You're just sleeping on the floor. We didn't have nothing for them. We had no blankets. We had no pillows. We had nothing.
Fuck.
So these people were just coming out soaking wet, and all they could do was just lie on a gym floor. That was it. And with no air conditioning, we wasn't ready for it. And I was driving a little van back and forth, transporting people. Like people who tried to get into the special needs shelter, who they got triaged, and was like, you know what? We're getting low on beds, and you're not really that sick. So they would wait till like about 5 or 6 of them piled up, and then I would drive them to the other place. And man, like, it was weird because like I had to pick some of them up that couldn't walk. And like one lady's skin came off of my hands because she was so waterlogged. It was like, and then like the rich people who didn't think they belonged there tried to bribe me. They'd be like, just keep driving. Just keep driving. Take us to a hotel. I'm like, lady, the world's falling apart. There ain't no hotel for you. You going with, and they were like, look at us. We don't belong with them. I'm like, bitch, you going over there. Like, you definitely going. Like,
yeah, you'd be lucky
you can't bribe me.
Get out here.
Exactly. Like you could walk, It's like we all doing the best we can. And so like at night, sometimes if they have like a bed or 2 left over, they would send me back into the gym to like they would just give me a flashlight and they'd go find the 2 sick. We got 2 beds. Find the 2 sickest people you got, and they could sleep in the air conditioner at night. And it was like the weirdest shit, man. Like I would go through this pitch black gym. They had one light up in the front. and there's just people crying, people screaming, don't know where their loved ones are at. The mosquitoes was up in there. It was hot. People would like pack together, and just like you could smell you could smell people like, but just suffering, like, and you could hear them crying.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there walking around with a flashlight, shining in people's eyes, like, you look kind of old. You look kind of like I'm not trained for that kind of stuff. You know, I don't know who could come with me or not. And like they always had one dude with one leg, and I figured that was good enough. You know, he was fine, but he had one leg. So like sometimes when I was tired, I'd be like, "Hey, you one leg, you come with me. You sleep in the air conditioner tonight." and it was just doing weird stuff like that. And then like next door, this is one of the things that infuriated me about and kind of helped like radicalize me. Like next door, there was generators running, and I asked the dude who was over the whole shit, like, hey, why don't we just put people in there? Because that building has AC. It wasn't that big, but we could just put some people on the floor, some old people. And he was like, nah, that's the computer lab that's running to keep the computers cold, and we can't put them in there because they're gonna tear the place up. You know, because you heard about all that stuff in the Superdome, bro. I wanted to smack that man. Yeah.
Way.
So like they would use the fuel and the generators to cool the computer lab while all the general shelter was just struggling. And then when more of those rumors came out about the Superdome, which was all false, about the rapes and all of that shit, they stopped letting people shower. So like you just come out of this filth. Because they were like, and then the National Guard came. Then the National Guard had to go in the shower and watch people shower. Like, there was just because most of these people was black, and most people running the shelter was white.
Just a massively traumatic event that, like, I mean, and how quickly people like forgot and like stopped giving a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't like you don't ever think about that anymore. At least in other parts of the country. And I remember like even right away. I remember when they like were moving them from what was the arena in Houston, the Astrodome. Remember when they were going to start moving people to the Astrodome? Remember Barbara Bush?
Yeah.
She said like, well, they were already poor anyway, so this is working out, very well for them.
They love it. They love it. Yeah.
From the start, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
they're having a good time.
I believe also even before that, she said, well, what I'm hearing is that they're, which is kind of scary, is that they're going to start moving them to Houston.
and Houstonians, I can't speak for all Houstonians, obviously, as I am not one, but like, I definitely remember hearing some not so flattering opinions of refugees from Eastern Louisiana.
Yeah, it was,
and Mississippi.
It was bad, and a lot of that is from racism. Like even my town, like I would go to my neighbor's house during while this was happening, and they'd be barbecuing with a bunch of guns on the picnic table. Like, hey, what y'all doing with all these guns? And they're like, oh, it's from if them people from New Orleans coming out here, we're gonna. I'm like, y'all, if they coming from here, they don't have nothing. Like they're not trying to rob nobody. They just want to live. Like I'm working with them every day. Like this is not that kind of racist fear. Is so deep down here.
It's funny because the people that are afraid of the other that is going to become, feral when disaster strikes, those same people are the ones that are actually exhibiting the feral behavior.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's also worth pointing out that, the people who suffered the most, at least in New Orleans, in the poorest areas and often the areas that are majority black. That was, it was a natural disaster, but it was also a man-made disaster, in a sort of way. And, in the levees not being, I guess, properly maintained, I guess, in those sort of areas, and no one really gave a shit. They knew they weren't going to fucking stand up to a really big storm like that, and they didn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Because, the rich people can leave.
Right, that's the thing. Yeah, the rich people, they can get in their fucking, Land Rover and go to their fucking goddamn winter home,
Yep.
Elron, I've been thinking about something since our last episode that you were on, where you were discussing disaster capitalism, and it's stuck with me since then, because now I'm kind of putting together like what you're saying about Lake Charles and about how, there's a lot of lakefront property that will never be able to be, reconstructed by a lot of the homeowners that may not have the ability to restart an entire home, and repair it and shit. In these situations where there is devastation, it just means things become cheaper for those that have the capital.
Sure.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're, you know,
ready to pounce.
I mean, a lot of people, if you owned a home in a city, you know what I'm saying, especially in a poor neighborhood, like, I mean, you might own that home, but you might only own that home because your father bought that home. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 50s or something, you don't necessarily have money to fucking, if it gets totally destroyed, you can't just, just have to leave. You can, or rent. You can't just rebuild necessarily if you're not rich.
And I'm cringing thinking of those same ill-prepared tactics from a federal level or any governmental organizational level in the midst of a pandemic and an extreme risk of infection to people that, you know, if they try to cram them into, if they try to do another Superdome sort of thing, it's just going to become a super spreader event.
Yeah, and the most vulnerable people are going to die and get sick.
I think things, you know what, I was thinking about this actually recently, in that, like, do you think Katrina, the response to Katrina, or the blame that was put on Bush would be the same with Trump? Because I feel like Bush, in a sense, or at least like the Republicans, or like at least the media, were like willing to put it on him, and maybe in some ways he was willing to accept some responsibility. I'm not saying necessarily that he was or that he did, but like I feel like if the same thing happened with Trump, like nobody would give a shit, because like COVID's happening right now and 180,000 people have died, and nobody, like, it doesn't really seem to matter, you know?
Absolutely.
It really doesn't seem to matter.
He would definitely get out of that. Yeah, he would definitely be like, he could blame, we have a Democratic governor. It would be all, he could blame Antifa.
The Democratic mayor.
Got it. Yeah, they would, or they'd say Antifa did it. They would say it didn't happen. They could do it. They would, like, there's no rules anymore. He would absolutely get away with that. All his friends would get richer. They're probably already scheming right now how they're going to take certain properties, certain areas, how they're going to get it. They're going to let business come in there and even pollute and destroy the place even more.
Oh yeah, they're just going to say, oh, we're gonna reduce regulations on chemical production because we want to get them up and starting as soon as possible.
Exactly. And they're going to say, oh, and they're going to, you know, we're giving you jobs, you know. But none of that shit. Hardly any of those jobs are good. Those jobs are only good in retrospect because, you can sort of eke by a comfortable living, but you'll get cancer and you'll never see your family, you know. Or you can go work at McDonald's or Dollar General or Walmart, and you can't. You'll probably also be in poor health and cancer. It's like you don't really have a good job, but even those are considered the good jobs because it's just as shitty, but it just pays a little bit better than retail or the consumer economy, you know. But it's fucked up, man. It's gonna get ugly over there unless we organize, you know.
Oh, buddy, I'm ready.
Yeah, we got to. We got no choice. Yeah, they come for everything.
There is literally no choice. Electoralism certainly is not going to help us. We've learned that lesson this year. There's no opposition party, right? I mean, Nancy Pelosi blew my mind today, which, you know, isn't that hard to do with her. But she was like, you know, I just don't see there being a point in having a debate between Biden and Trump because we don't want to legitimize.
Off. Don't you dare! Don't you take that away from me. That's the only thing I have to look forward to.
I was like, you passed all of his budgets. Yeah. You passed the largest military budget in the history of man.
Well, I honestly, I almost think it's not even like, it's not that she doesn't want to dignify Trump with a debate. It's that I think that even she knows that in the competition of like who's more senile, it's clearly Biden, or at least he's a less charismatic, less energetic senile. I think that she just knows Trump's going to fucking eat him alive because I think he is.
Oh yeah.
And I want to see it. I really would like to see it very much. 3 of them, please. Yeah, 3 of them.
I'd love to see. What would it be? I mean, he'd be like, Joe, actually, your dad couldn't drive a car. You know, it'd be like, he would just be taking the pettiest shit, you know, because Joe thinks his dad was a great driver or whatever. It would just be like old men fighting about the dumbest shit.
They're old men.
Yeah, they're old. Yeah, they're dummy. They're dumb. Oh, God.
We live in a gerontocracy.
The dumbest, oldest dipshits that our political system has ever created, like one on one. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's what we deserve, honestly.
Yes.
Like there's such this is why it's like so important, and I've beat this drum before about like Zoomer and millennial solidarity, because like there's such a risk of them just falling into nihilism, because why wouldn't they if they were like, I mean, I'm sure if there's some Zoomers that are listening to this probably have not fallen into nihilism, but like I would imagine some of your peers would just be like, what the fuck, there's no point in participating in the conventional systems that have led us to this point, because why?
Yeah, we've never seen it work.
That's why it's like so important to reach out and get into those spaces and help to radicalize them towards the left, because otherwise they're just going to listen to fucking Ben Shapiro and his fucking helium voice.
Absolutely. And like you put up with enough shit and you fail enough and you lose enough, you become so cynical. Like if you eat shit every day, you're just gonna be so cynical. And then like when somebody says you can have better shit, we could build a better world, you've been eating shit so long, you're like, nah, that's I heard you just you're not really receptive, and you don't even want to try. So you're right. You got to get to these young kids, especially. But yeah, oh man, huge bummer.
Yeah, that's a good start, guys.
Man, I tell you, I've been spending a lot of time, because I'm not on Twitter right now, but I've been spending a lot of time on Facebook again.
I like how you modified that. You said, I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah, right it's technical, I guess. I don't know, but the posting instinct is strong, so I've been spending a lot of time on Facebook, and it's just like, I think Facebook was always a sewer, but I feel like it's gotten way worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, as far as like replies to like basically like any local news article you see about like I saw a news article about some guy stealing a lawnmower from somebody's garage, and like one of the top comment was like, "This is what Black Lives Matter calls reparations." You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like every single, it doesn't matter what the story is, what the post is about, every single one will have like at least a half dozen of these like very racist, anti-Black Lives Matter replies. It's absolutely, and it's like every time I see it, I'm like, man, I can't believe people are so comfortable to do this, like with their real picture, with their real name in front of everybody they know, and you know what I'm saying? It's just it's baffling to me. I feel like it's gotten significantly worse since the last time I was really regularly on Facebook, which was like 5 years ago.
Yes,
but you said this, and you're totally right. That like how much more sad, like if shit doo-doo 949724 like says fuck off to you, you're like, who cares?
Oh yeah.
But if like it's so much more personal if you like tell your childhood babysitter's father to fuck off on Facebook for posting some racist shit.
I'm burning bridges with like every shitty old dude I met in AA in Richmond, Virginia, like 10 years ago. I'm just burning all of them. Fuck off. Shut the fuck up, dipshit.
Do it.
It's really fun for me.
It's really funny because a lot of them old guys who are super racist start like when they die, you just remember all the shitty things that they, like these weird acquaintances. Like I had a really weird acquaintance die, and then just because I absorbed so much of his racist shit on Facebook, I was like, well, at least I don't have to read that anymore. You know what I mean? It was like a really fucked up way to process it. It was like, I gotta be careful. Yeah, it's oh man.
Now when I was a young boy, about the age of 5, my teachers taught me I could be the greatest man alive. They told me I could change the world, be whatever I wanted to be. There was no one in the world like me. Every one of us was so unique. I'd not be an average man. No sir, I'd be no average man.
Welcome back, everyone, to Eat the Rich. This is a show about our political economy, late-stage capitalism, and the millionaires, billionaires, and multinational corporations hell-bent on staving off his death rattle. I'm Dwight, and today we have with us Chris.
Howdy.
And returning to Eat the Rich, our Louisiana correspondent. Welcome back, Elron, Mexico.
Thank y'all for having me.
It's really an honor. It's always a pleasure. And glad you were able to survive and weather the actual hurricane that came through earlier before recording.
Yeah. It's just another Thursday in Louisiana. you know.
I really can't overstate it enough. Louisiana is like Jurassic Park to me.
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange. Like, today was weird. Like hurricane, that chemical plant blew up. They got a whole fucking casino boat that got dislodged and is stuck under this other bridge that should have fell like last year. This old ass bridge. And the Domino Sugar Factory is on fire right now. And I got a baby water moccasin in the back of my truck that I captured. Yeah. So.
Didn't you post some pictures of didn't you have like turtles in your office? Like,
oh yeah, they always walk in the building. Yeah, just like little box.
It was an alligator.
Well, no, there was alligators, but I think there was a turtle too.
Yeah, turtle walked in the bottom of it. Yeah, he's just turtles, just animals everywhere. Yeah.
Looking for a job application or what?
Yeah, he wanted to work.
Times are hard, man.
Turtles can get it. Slow and steady.
So interesting. Thank you for joining us here, Elron. And Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you because just prior to recording, we had some late breaking news on the story that we're going to talk about today, which is Chris, let me turn it over to you. What do we got?
I mean, I literally think this is like the best bit that's happened yet as far as this story. Because like, first of all, let me just read the headline here. By the time you listen to this, I'm sure you've all seen this, but she was the aggressor. Former Liberty student alleges sexual encounter with Becky Falwell. A former student at the Evangelical University opens up about a 2008 incident with the wife of the school's president. And it's a pretty long article, but the gist of it basically is that she like sucked this dude's dick. It was like the 22-year-old bandmate of her son. They were in like some Led Zeppelin cover band. Oh, did you not read it? Oh yeah.
I didn't see that it was her son's friend.
Oh yeah, they were in some cover band together. Yeah, dude. And like she would like let the band, like they fixed up like some old building that was on their property. They would let the band practice there, and she would like always like come and watch them, and like started getting weirder and weirder, and then like eventually cornered this kid and went down on him, and then like over the course of several months, it's like there's screenshots of like text messages and Facebook messages and all kinds of stuff, but like I don't know, like the part I found the weirdest and the most disturbing is, let me see if I can find this here, because this, like I said, this is a rather long article, and I'm not any more prepared than I usually am. Okay, yeah, so this is really weird. About like 3/4 of the way towards the article, there's this part here where she keeps like she's like making mixtapes for this fucking kid, like CDs, and like giving him concert tickets. It's like weird.
She caught feelings.
It's really weird stuff. And then I'm reading from the article directly. It says, for the then student, the line was crossed when Falwell, that's Becky Falwell, befriended his mother, who had driven to Lynchburg to see one of the band's shows. Falwell said, "Oh, let's get your mother's number," the former student said. "My poor mother worships the ground Jerry Falwell Sr. walks on, just considering what he did for American evangelicals. So she was getting the biggest kick out of Becky calling her. I had to tell Falwell, do not contact my family." So like this is I think this is
grooming is what it sounds
exactly. Like. That's the point I'm getting to.
Yeah.
This is like perfectly like I think emblematic of everything else that we wanted to talk about kind of today, specifically with Jerry Falwell Jr., but his wife as well. These sort of like this imbalance of power, the way they wield power over people, and the way they like bully people and twist people's arms and intimidate people into doing what they want them to do. And I think that this is grooming. This is like Me Too shit. You know what I'm saying? And I really think that like this story is like, it's even crazier in my opinion than the one with the pool boy. And I think that this has got to be. I mean, there's dozens of these. There have to be so many of these. Like, I think we're probably going to hear a lot more stories like this.
So to be clear, I mean, what we were initially going to talk about was just Liberty University. Why did I say that? Liberty University. The Jerry Falwell Jr. And his the entire hard right wing evangelical apparatus that has been bolstered by this Falwell family since his father, Jerry Falwell Sr.
Yeah, created by his father. I mean, the moral majority Liberty. I mean, that was who, activated and unlocked like evangelicals as a political movement in this country, whereas there never really had been before. That didn't happen to the 80s.
Chris, do you want to set up like Liberty University and how it started and how Jerry Falwell Jr. is kind of, do you want to do the whole Jerry Falwell Jr. shit with like him resigning and then not resigning and then resigning again?
There's no sense in relitigating, I think, like the most recent stuff. I mean, I think probably most people are paying attention to that. But, Liberty...
I think they should know.
Yeah, of course. We'll get into it. Yeah, Liberty University itself, I'm like sort of intimately... I may have told this story before, but like I grew up in Richmond, which is like, 2 hours from Lynchburg. So I was like very aware of Liberty University when I was in high school and stuff. And like, yeah, we took, me and my friend one time went like as a gag, we like went and pretended like we were interested in Liberty University, and we got like a student tour of the college and stuff. And like, it's weird.
No way.
It's freaky shit. And like you said, they do have a very strict, like code of ethics, code of honor, which includes, obviously no premarital sex, no, homosexuality, none of that, nothing like that. But also, like, I was actually surprised to hear about the Led Zeppelin cover band, because I remember very specifically, one thing that stuck out from when I was in high school reading about it. I remember they had a line that was like no music or hair or clothing styles associated with a counterculture. Like, I think that was like even a thing. Like, you can't watch R-rated movies, you can't possess an R-rated movie on campus. It's contraband. And even some like PG-13 rated movies, if they're like deemed specifically, deemed inappropriate by the faculty or whatever. So yeah, it's a freak show. I mean, it was founded in 1971 by Jerry Falwell Sr. I was actually surprised to find out that they had 115,000 students. I didn't know that.
But they
have 15,000 on campus. Yeah, the vast majority. So it's a racket. They have 94,000 online students, and they're tax exempt. It's like a religious.
Yeah,
it's like a religious.
Hell yeah, tax exempt.
I mean,
well, and to be clear, it's not that, just to be, clear, when an institution like this says it's tax exempt, it doesn't mean that they're not consuming public goods. It just means that us, those around them, and the people of taxpayers of the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia.
That's right.
I wanted to give you that respect, Chris. Are subsidizing the municipal goods that they're consuming as an institution, as, a set of properties.
Yeah. I mean, so Falwell, Senior ran this shit like a dictatorship for decades. I mean, he ran that, he ran the church, he sort of did everything. He was also this like major political figure and major, American cultural figure, whatever. He was always on TV and various sorts of things. And then when he died, he divvied up, the two projects, the church and the university, between his two shithead sons. Jonathan became who was, I guess, the more charismatic and probably one who actually believes all this shit. He's the one that became the pastor. And then he put, Jerry Falwell, he put his namesake, Jerry Falwell Jr. in charge of the university just in 2007. And this story that we just read from Politico, this happened in 2008. This is 12 years ago that she went down on this kid. This is like from the start, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like, so his entire tenure as president has been, riddled with scandal. And there's I think the less interesting stuff that's like, there's the run of the mill that like every sort of evangelical shithead has, like the anti-gay scandals and the anti-Muslim. And, if you look at his Wikipedia page, I mean, it's just, a laundry list of, his comments on homosexuality, his comments on Muslims, his, COVID denial, all this sort of stuff. But none of this is really surprising. His stuff about Israel. I think what's a more interesting story, and I think that this Politico article really hits on it, like I said, is this power dynamic and the way in which the Falwells really ran this university like a dictatorship. There's one article I found here. There was a really good Politico article, I think, that came out last year that went in depth when this story about the pool boy first broke, that really I just want to read something from here that really shows the influence of Falwell over the university and just how afraid of people, just how afraid of him he made people, like the entire faculty. It says members of Liberty University community are generally reluctant to go on the record. The school uses non-disclosure agreements to prohibit many university employees or board members from openly discussing what they've seen Falwell do. And again, like what some of these things they've seen him do. I mean, he's a fucking like he's like talking about like fucking his wife. I mean, he's talking about like this is like a Christian. It's so funny for me to imagine like who does he think he's talking to? Like some of the other people actually have to believe this shit. You know what I'm saying? And they're not just fucking like they didn't have a rich father that put them in charge of this university. And like he's just like, you know, telling people like, yeah, my dick's too big for my wife. She can't take it. And like weird, like he's just weird detailed stuff to like, you know, like the fucking, you know, assistant professor of theology or whatever. You know, this is just the kind of shit he's saying to people all the time is like, of course, a habit. It says all trustees sign a confidentiality agreement that does not expire at the close of board service.
Really?
Yeah. Liberty's attorney told board members in an email that was sent earlier this month after the school received inquiries from reporters on some of the issues outlined in this article. Tenure and its protections are not available to Liberty faculty members outside the law school. The law school is the only school, the only department in the university that has tenured professors, and that's only because they had to do that to be accredited as a law university. All the rest of the professors
couldn't get around it.
Just couldn't get around it. Had to get that fucking money from the law school, man. Had to make some compromises. But like all the other professors, like they work on a year-to-year contract. Their contract is a year long, and it's not till the end of that year that they discover if they have a job for the next year or not. And what it sounds like is like a very common form of retribution against people who will like, you know, question or doubt or challenge the Falwells in any sort of way is that when you find out you don't have a job, they don't tell you until like May or June, like way late in the spring semester, that you don't have a job for the fall, which is far beyond the point where you could get a different job at a different university in the fall. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're just like, and again, I don't have a lot of sympathy for the type of person who would teach at Liberty University, you know.
Oh, why? Yeah. Just because it's the number one most conservative college campus in America?
I mean, there's no good sign. I mean, fuck, you know, most of the people involved in this story, fuck them. It is funny to hear these people whine about this. But yeah, I mean, the power that he wielded over this entire university is wild.
If I can just say, too, I mean,
go ahead.
One thing that was articulated really well that I learned from a fabulous podcast, which I can't, you know, recommend enough, which is Capitalism Hits Home by Dr. Harriet Fraud, which is part of the Democracy at Work, you know, family of products, so to say, is that the evangelical family structure is one that is fascistic, is one that is anti-democratic, sure, is one that is very top-down and patriarchal. So it doesn't surprise me at all that this is the kind of, you know, doctrine that they govern a business with.
Not at all. No, but it's also, you know, it's hilarious that they are doing that, but then at the same time, he's like, you know, inviting Applebee's waiters to like fuck his wife in the bathroom or something. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like, you know, it's you know, evangelical hypocrisy is, you know, it's
abundant.
Yeah, that's no new concept, but it's just so funny that this guy is literally turning into like, I mean, like The Righteous Gemstones came out last year, and like the character of Jesse Gemstone is very clearly based on this guy. You know what I'm saying? That was before any of these scandals came out, and it's like over time, he's like literally, I mean, he is revealing himself to be, you know, even more of a caricature of himself or of a you know, an evangelical leader than even, you know, a satirical piece of fiction could come up with. You know, he's even worse.
Yeah. Oh, this is way better than ours.
Of course, yeah. So it goes on to say here, it says, when we talk about the tenure, it says, if you teach or work at Liberty, you must get approval from Falwell's office before you speak to the media. Talk to reporters without his approval or publicly criticize him, even obliquely, and you could lose your job. If you're a board member and do the same, you could get forced out, even if you have unimpeachable credentials in the Christian conservative movement. And this is a direct quote here. It says, everybody is scared for their life. Everybody walks around in fear, said a current university employee who agreed to speak for this article only after purchasing a burner phone, fearing that Falwell was monitoring their communications.
No way.
Yeah. The fear is not limited to Liberty's campus. Several people who lack any tie to Liberty but live in the school's hometown of Lynchburg, Virginia, refuse to go on the record for the story, fearing Falwell would take revenge upon them and their families. Fear is probably his most powerful weapon, a former senior university official said. And there's another story which maybe we can.
It's like Scientology for swingers.
Well, that's also. I think Scientology. I think Scientology is Scientology for swingers. Oh. I think they're pretty into that too. But yeah, there's another story from the Washington Post about the way, especially after his endorsement of Trump in 2016, maybe late 2015, whenever that was, the way he gradually Falwell Jr. that is sort of clamped down on the independence even of the school newspaper, and like forced out their editor, like their last student editor, and like it's been like the paper's been entirely, students still write the shit, but I mean everything has to go through the faculty. Everything's run by the faculty now.
Yeah, I read some of that website. It was like the school paper when I was like researching this. It was like Ben Shapiro clones. It was the same kind of like logic and reason, Western civilization, all that kind of shit. And it was like, what the fuck is who would read this? Who would who would consume this type of? I guess these kids who go to the school. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I meant this is an aside, but when I was working as a cab driver in Richmond, I had one it was an airport trip. I had like one prearranged trip. I had to go all the way out to Lynchburg and pick this kid up from the university and take him to the airport in Richmond. It was like a really long ride, and he was a really weird kid. And this is like the only like active Liberty University student I think I've ever really spent any significant amount of time with. And like he got in my car, and then he didn't say anything for like 2 hours. He was completely silent until we were about a half hour from the airport, and then he just like without warning just threw up all over the back of my car. Yeah, like really badly, but did it like quietly, like tried to hide it from me, like I wouldn't know. And I was like, "Are you throwing up?" And he's like, "Yes." So I don't know. I don't know if he was drunk, or maybe he was hungover, or if he was car sick. I don't know, because I've heard Liberty University students. I've heard some of them really do like to party. I can imagine, because you got to imagine a lot of those kids, their parents make them go there. A lot of them don't want to be there.
Yeah, it's probably a place like rich, evangelicals. If they have a son or daughter that's acting up, they say, we're gonna send you to Liberty if you keep this shit up. And they probably it's like a boarding school or something for them.
It's funny too. I saw out of the most conservative colleges in America, it had the highest tuition.
It's a very high tuition, yeah, I believe, isn't it? I don't have the exact number. Do you know?
I think it was like 27 grand or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a lot of dough, man, to not even be able.
That's
to drink.
A lot of money to barely go to a real school.
But yeah, I did notice in the other rankings, it was not entirely high on the academic prowess side.
No. Well, and that's the thing, 90% of their students are online, and I can't imagine what they're getting online. Yeah. I can't imagine they're getting very much as far as an education goes from Liberty University online.
And I saw too, their distance learning program is actually extremely old, because they started in like the 80s.
Tapes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They used VHS tapes, and that was like courses that they would send people. First off, I mean, to me, like in the 80s, that seems like just like an incredible grift, like some like back of the magazine sort of ad thing.
Sure.
But like it seems like they're extremely successful in that. And not only that, like their endowment is huge. I think I saw it was like $2 billion. God damn. And I mean, no taxes as nonprofit. That's just all gravy, man.
That's big money. It's big money. What is Falwell Jr. worth? Like $100 million? I saw like different figures. I'm not sure exactly.
I didn't see. No, I don't know. Let me look it up.
I saw different stuff. 100 million was one of the figures I've seen. I think the total wealth of the whole university was in the billions.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's crazy because we help subsidize this. We like through our tax dollars, we reinforce this power dynamic so this weird old lady could try to suck little kids' dicks and shit. Like we're sort of that all that's getting ran through the apparatus of our political economy. You know what I mean? Like because we're allowing them to do. It's really fucking depraved. Somebody should stop them. I don't know how, but
yeah, I don't want to subsidize this organization with my taxes.
No.
Oh, so here, let me read this real quick, because this is backtracking a little bit, but this is just so funny to me. There's so many good screenshots of like text message conversations from Becky Falwell to this student. Here's one of them. It says, "Hey, Mr. Legend. It was great finally seeing you tonight after a month or forever. I've got you an incredible Ray LaMontagne CD.
What the fuck is that?
It's some acoustic guy. Call me since your text is dead, in parentheses, tomorrow, and I'll get it to you. I'll be at Convo if you want to come. How do the new sunglasses look? Can't wait to see them. All right?
That's all one text?
That's all one text. Oh no, it gets
Gen X shit.
Like 4 hours later, never mind, don't call. I'll give the CD to someone who will appreciate it.
Oh, she got her feelings hurt.
She got jilted by a 22-year-old child?
I showed you my mixtape. Please reply.
Later, she didn't get a text for 4 hours and was like, got, shitty about it. And then he says, oh man, I haven't been on all day until now, just busy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is like you miss a text from somebody for 4 hours and then they freak out.
And in fairness too, texting in 2008 was not what it was today.
This is a Facebook message.
A Facebook message.
Even then, yeah.
How greedy.
Yeah.
Elron, I'm really curious. I think you might have looked into some of like the real estate stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like that's like super nebulous to me because I keep hearing like, oh, this dude's firstly, him being worth $100 million. Like, why even be ambitious at that point?
Yeah,
like,
their business isn't God.
No.
Their business is real estate.
What's all that about?
He kind of feels that way too. Like I think somebody wrote, let me find that quote. It was like, I don't think he cared. Somebody was talking about Jerry Jr. I don't think he cared as much about the evangelical dimension of the university as he did being a successful businessman, turning the business, the university into a successful business. I think he felt if I succeed as a businessman, the evangelical mission will be fulfilled. So those two things are the same to him. It's kind of like the merging of, that's kind of where evangelical was coming from. That's why our economic system influences the religion more than the other way around, So it's merged with capitalism. And so he said, if we're making money, that is for God, because that is our new God.
Yes.
That is what we're getting at. That is the ultimate mission. So he
so twisted.
Yeah.
And if it is for God and it's for God's glory, and then if you're successful and you become worth $100 million, then God is pleased with you.
Yes.
What I'm saying? It doesn't matter.
It
doesn't matter what you did. You're able to then write off any sort of anything shitty or shady you had to do to get that money, because God wanted you to be successful and God wanted you to be prosperous, and you are, and that's just God's will. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, the fucking evangelical Christianity is just the fucking great for capitalism, man. It really can justify absolutely anything you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, God hates us then.
Yeah. And that's why it's easy to joke about joining ISIS. Because it's like, okay, motherfucker, is this who you are? You about money? Well, then, because in some weird exercise in your head when you join ISIS, you're on the right side, and all these motherfuckers like Falwell gonna burn in hell. So that's when we joke about it. But you get what I'm saying? The dynamic.
They're right.
They're right there.
Yeah,
ISIS
is the right side.
It is compared to this. Because there's blood and fire, and there's some sort of humanity in it. This is just some rich guy mumbling, just zoning through his life. I was watching I went to his Instagram feed, and Falwell was at this water park, and he did a zip line. And he's walking up to the zip line. This is a zip line. I'm gonna get there at the little bar. And he had no fucking fun. You know what I mean? I was like, all this shit is wasted on this man. You know what I mean?
That's so upsetting. Yeah,
it's just
I've literally never been happier than when I'm on a zip line.
Yeah, exactly. And then jumping in the water, and he can't. There's no joy to be had in that man's heart except for making money, which is pointless in itself. But so going back to what they own. So I went into, I think they're in Campbell County. Y'all got counties up there, right? Yeah, counties. Campbell County is in Lynchburg.
The parish.
Oh yeah, I went there. I went to the tax assessor's office to see what Liberty University owns. I think there's 20 different individual properties on one page. That's 7 properties. So they own 200 something different parcels. They own land commercial, stuff for farmland. They own so many acreage. The Liberty University owns it seems like half of that county. And I was kind of looking into what, they own a shopping mall. They built a gun range. They got 2 airline companies. No.
Excuse me?
You know, they sold $900 million to the Pentagon in fuel. These motherfuckers are defense contractors.
Whoa. Hang on. What are you talking about?
I gotta find it then. Hold on. Well, I mean, I wrote a lot of this shit down. Yeah. He's selling. Jerry Falwell sells fuel to the government. Plane fuel. It's on. You could just go. I mean, like, I'm gonna find it. Hold on.
What?
Yeah. Jet fuel to the Pentagon. $900 million last year. This was after Trump got in.
No fucking way.
They got their hands in everything. There's another thing called the fucking robotic retrieval up the mountain. Some call it a snowflex center. It's a year-round.
They have a ski range. Yeah, they have a ski slope. They have like artificial ski, like the fucking like the Saudis or something. It's like the fucking
like Dubai,
Falwell Al Saud of fucking Lynchburg.
Yeah.
It's like the royal family or something. It's like their own little fucking it is sort of the same thing.
Yeah, they got a $3 million shooting range that's in completion right now. So I mean, like when we talk about, you said Scientology, you reminded me how they have their military wing, the Sea Org. They can start training people to shoot at this damn shooting range. I mean, Falwell's gonna have his own private army as this shit collapses. He already got, like I said, 2 aviation companies. I'm trying to find that
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he got all kind of shit. I don't even know where to start. But like, so they own a La Quinta Inn, but they use like their university to promote all of this stuff and to put business there. They get loans. They use. I mean, it's all this stuff is intertwined on one big mesh of money that he rules, you know? Yeah.
Wait a minute. You got me with La Quinta, man. They're selling $1 billion in jet fuel, and they're like, man, we need to diversify.
Yeah. So this
we got to get into a La Quinta for $60 a night, man. It's a deal.
They in everything. So, all right, I found the article. A company owned by the Liberty University has a contract with the Pentagon to provide jet fuel. Now, this was in 2017.
No fucking way, dude.
This is the problem with the internet today. I'm going to do a little diversion. Because when you Google this kind of shit, when you Google like Jerry Falwell, all that comes up about is the lady, his wife fucking the dude and him jacking off in the corner. That's like the first 10 pages of Google. So you're like, damn, like even if you could Google Jerry Falwell Jr. only finances, and like the top 3 things is somebody's railing his wife. Like, there's no way Google is useless now. So you got to like go a bunch of like asking for shit. Like, but anyway, all right. So
he was doing it for the SEO.
Yeah, that's what it is. The contract was scrutinized on Thursday. Now, this was an article from 2017. The Defense Department signed a contract to buy jet fuel from Freedom Aviation, which is wholly owned by the university. And since that, it has bought $400,000 worth of fuel from the company. The Pentagon agreed to buy nearly, I'm sorry, not $1 billion, 900,000. I'm bad with numbers. So
that's
900.
That's extremely.
Yeah, that's a lot of. That's about $1 million in jet fuel.
That's extremely funny, but also any jet fuel being sold by a nonprofit university to the Department of Defense. It's insane to me.
Yes. According to the maintains and it has a flight school too. They provide charter flights to the public, and the Falwells travel on the aircraft for private use. So it's both of their things. So they have also something called Freedom Aviation and CNC Aviation as their 2 aviation companies.
Reminds me of when we talked about what was that dude's name? Oh, Jesus Christ. The weird old guy from when we did the televangelist trash episode. Who was the guy that I covered? I don't even remember his fucking name.
Oh, Kenneth Copeland.
That's the one, Kenneth Copeland, who was like obsessed with planes and stuff like that. It's like, God wants us to have a Gulf Stream.
Oh yeah, you can't be in a fucking tube with the demons, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said just like you said, they had another thing. Never has a university-owned company won a federal fuel contract before Trump was elected president. So a university owns it's some weird shit. But all these people,
open markets, baby.
Yeah, I mean, like that is kind of the name of the game. Like on one side, the private companies are taking over. They want to dismantle the public shit so the private companies can take it over. Now, the public institutions that are left, people like Falwell and Trump get in there, and then they do exactly what they're doing. Like I've worked in different water systems, and what they do is like And I see it all over the place. I mean, been around this kind of shit my whole life. You give like the grass contract to your son's friend. You know what I mean? Like you give the chemical contract to your buddy who sells chemicals, or you can get like it's all one big web of rich people trading favors and keeping like this internal economy, while like the rest of like, because if you think about where the money from Liberty comes from, it is from the students taking out loans, gone into debt, right? So like all of these students going into all this debt, their lives are much worse and more precarious, while the Falwells are just buying up property. And like at the La Quinta Inn that they own, those workers don't make shit. They're getting exploited. Like all the workers are getting fucked in this deal. All the owners are getting richer. Like it's just a big web of like misery, and it's bad. Like I don't know shit, man. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, like the finances are fucked, you know?
But this is like with I mean, you know, kind of libertarians would call this like crony capitalism or something.
Yeah.
But then then their critique would be like, oh, well, we just need to have capitalism, but it needs to be freer. Which is ridiculous, because it's just we know that firms tend to trend towards consolidation because of economies of scale or whatever.
Yeah.
But like with this shit, it's much more apt to call it just like fascistic, because it just their doctrine is governance by private companies. Yes. And it behooves them. It's in their interest. And what is even more crazy to me is to think about like we were talking about earlier in the episode, like to think about those kids that are impressionable and feel like they have nothing and are kind of like swirling around enamored with this idea that like through my hard work and through my, you know, perseverance, and if I get up every morning and I make my bed and I do my studies, like do some fucking Jay Gatsby shit, that I'll be able to ideally become the exploiter, is what the hope is. That's the best case scenario. Yeah. Like the utopian vision in their mind is to like become the exploiter. Yes. But like they'll never fucking get there, because that's just not how it works. I think about this all the time. Like even if I joke about this sometimes, that the only way that I could transcend my class is if like I ingratiated myself in the life of some aging spinster that had a lot of money or something, and I was just like, yeah, listen, and I get written into the will. Yeah. But even then,
I think Becky Falwell is going to be single soon.
Yeah, you got to join a band with her son, and that's how you get it.
Go to Led Zeppelin. Yeah. But like, even if I had $100 million tomorrow, they can still sniff it on me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there's a confidence that comes to people that have money, that grew up with money, that I will never, ever have. Yeah. It's just something that they can smell you from the country club. Mm-hmm. Like they just know that you're not one of them.
Yes.
And to aspire to be one of them by, you know, working hard and whatever, and maybe, you know, hoping at least to have their light shine on you is just foolish. Because they're, again, you know, as exactly as you're saying, Elron, like their goal is to exploit you in as efficient a way as possible. So to even aspire towards that is like, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It reminds me of like, we had a game growing up, and it was pretty much like in school, it was called Big Bank Take Little Bank. And you went up to somebody, and whoever had more money in their wallet got the other person's money. And it was simple. It was like a game of battle, like cards. And that's all this shit really is. I mean, like, that was like a condensed version of capitalism. It's just big bank, take little bank.
Somebody could very quickly like pick up steam on that and get very far. I feel like there's gotta be only so many people's money you can take, right?
Yeah. Then you know you don't play against that guy. Yeah. It's a real weird, fucked up way we got of organizing a world here, and we got to go, and like and it started with them, because like I was like, how they got this money, how they got all this land, and slavery. Yeah, you know, it didn't. Remember how like we did that episode, and like Shane was like, "How did these rich people get the grocery store?" He did a little digging. It's like, "Oh, Nazi." All right, that was cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that with almost every.
It tends to happen quite a lot on this program.
Almost every fortune.
It goes back to one or the other pretty often. Yeah, sometimes both.
Nazi slave owners. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, those are fascistic economic systems, right? And then there's governance by private corporations. And even when there's a transition to what's supposed to be a more equitable system of economic governance like capitalism, which, spoiler alert, it's not, like the vestiges of those previous economic systems are still there.
Yeah, exactly. All those hierarchies exist. Yeah.
Exactly. I was thinking about it today, even like with the hurricane that came through, and I'm just like, man, just like I can't remember a Category 4 hurricane just like being on our doorstep all of a sudden, like last night, and then it's done, and it's like over Missouri or whatever as a tropical storm, and I think we're gonna get it up here in the Northeast on Saturday or something. And I'm thinking, like, between that, the wildfires in California, the derecho, the insane overland hurricane that hit Iowa, like this, the people that are picking up the pieces in our small towns are like volunteer firefighters who, you know, they're being taken away from their families and stuff like that, and, you know, putting themselves in harm's way. And then, like in the case of California, like literal slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the vestiges of these horrific, even under capitalism, the vestiges of those horrific economic systems still persist. It's crazy.
It just changed. It changed names. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, yeah. It's still slavery, just on a different name.
And to borrow again from Democracy at Work, for that Richard Wolff had a great episode of Economic Update in which he was talking about the definition of capitalism, and he was explaining that, like, the definition of capitalism that differentiates it is not about markets, because even under communism and even under socialism, their markets still exist. They're still technically allocating resources to the highest bidder. But the defining characteristic about capitalism is the employer-employee relationship. And that in itself, again, if you read the Communist Manifesto or something like that, Marx and Engels, it is a system in which exploitation not only inherently exists, but is continuously evolving and continuously getting better.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, and Falwell kind of takes that to another form. Maybe like if he looks at fucking as labor, he's basically paying someone else to fuck his wife. Like he's that much as a capitalist. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'll just pay you to do it. I don't want to do it. Like it maybe it's weird. It's kind of the ultimate expression of like conservative like power. Like, because I've been trying to wrap my head around this cuckold shit. Maybe it's just a kink. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but like, because it involves like the dominion over a woman's body and the power to exploit another man to get him to do what you want through your power. And like both of this cuckold shit is that. And then like this act of watching them, like what you approve, is kind of like ritualizing the whole thing. Just getting the pool boy.
Like, yeah, and you're in the ultimate power position over all of it.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And I think that's why these weird conservative Christian guys get into that kind of shit. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it. Like, like where is his head in this? Why does this man like to do this with these young kids? It's weird. I don't know. Donald Sterling used to do that. You remember Donald Sterling, the owner of the Clippers?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he would bring dates.
Rest in piss.
Yeah, please.
Who is this?
Donald Sterling. Yeah. He was the owner of the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He would bring dates into the locker room when the players would be like nude, and he would show off the naked bodies. Like look at my guys. Like look at them. I own these guys. Look at their nice, beautiful bodies. And like it's like that's a weird first date to be on with an old man. You know what I mean? It's like
Jesus
these chicks must have been like,
Christ, dude.
Yeah, it's like he was treating them like they were like animals or sex toys or something. The way
or like on the auction block, like slaves.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's some weird ownership of both the woman you're with and the labor, the men that you see, because every relationship's kind of reduced into that. So to watch him, to put them together almost like Barbie dolls, it's like there's got to be some weird fucking power shit right there. I don't know, but he sucks. Yeah.
I have to bring up this which in comparison to the other things we've talked about now, I was going to say scandal, but this really doesn't even like clock in on that level. But something that happened in this was earlier this year when the governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, which, Jesus Christ, if you don't know what's happened with him in the last 2 years, you really should look it up. But he was basically like trying to make mandates about mask wearing in the state of Virginia.
Yes.
and Jerry Falwell tweeted a picture of the... Oh, God, I can't believe we're explaining this shit. Jerry Falwell tweeted a picture that was from Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia's college yearbook, in which he was wearing blackface and was standing next to somebody with his arm around wearing a Ku Klux Klan robe.
God damn.
And basically the gist of the tweet was like, you know, if you're gonna make us wear a mask, we're gonna have this mask on. And it was a mask it was a mask that included like the picture of the thing on it.
God damn.
And I'm just gonna read from a June article from the Washington Post, which she was talking about where Jerry Falwell did apologize for the tweet. But the title of it is Liberty's Jerry Falwell Jr. apologizes for tweet. Director of Diversity resigns. And I'm just going to skip down to the fourth paragraph here, and it says, Laquan McLaurin, who began as a student at Liberty University in 2012 and has worked there since, resigned from his position as Director of Diversity Retention last week. He said in an email that Falwell's tweet on May 27th was a tipping point of larger racially related problems that he has experienced at the school. When this statistic is crazy to me, which he said has contributed to a drop in Liberty's residential graduate African-American population from 10 to 4% between 2007 and 2018.
Damn. I'm surprised it was even at 10% with like how racist, you know, Jerry Falwell was and his whole family, you know, just from going back. Like it was like pro-segregation and all of this. He had some awful, he hated Martin Luther King, you know?
Yeah. To say the least. And I mean, you know, to be clear, I mean, in America, the percentage of black population, I think, is like 12 or 13%. Mm-hmm. So it kind of puts into, they're not even like letting people in black people in at the proportion that would be representative of like the American population. But I'm just reading another paragraph or two here. It says, some draw a direct line between the start of President Falwell's divisive, insensitive, and unapologetic approach to politics and that drop, he wrote in an email. Since President Trump's campaign, Falwell has been one of his most prominent evangelical supporters. And again, too, like this is also certainly a strategy of Falwell's to like jump on the ride the coattails of Trump on the way up, because for whatever reason, again, you know, despite his DOD contracts, I'm sorry, I still can't believe that. Despite his DOD contracts and like his incredible net worth, like he's still extremely politically ambitious and wants to create a name for himself in this position. But the article continues here saying, on Monday, Falwell apologized for his tweet after meeting with African-American board members and some alumni, including former NFL athlete Rashad Jennings, who played college football at Liberty. Yeah. Falwell tweeted that he wanted to remind the people of the 2019 scandal in which Northam denied that the photo was his, but admitted to wearing blackface on another occasion decades ago. I don't want to talk about the Northam scandal, but indulge me for a moment. Do you remember the moment in Ralph Northam's, let's just say, apology presser, where he was literally about to do the moonwalk?
Of course. His wife deprived us of one of the all-time great moments, I feel like.
I'll never forgive her.
It's so insane to me. I remember watching that. I think I watched that live. Yeah. And I remember just like my jaw was just like in the sub-basement. I could not believe that had happened in front of us. Yeah,
he did that little smirk. He was like, I'm about to do it. And you could tell he wanted to do it so bad.
I'm going to black out. It's just the amount of... I've never seen such a... It's like a peacock's plume display of white privilege, like an ultimate incredible display of white privilege. Anyway, what was interesting though, there was another piece of this that I wanted to bring up, which was something that happened earlier this year. And I'm going to read from a headline from DraftKings, of all places, where it says, Liberty University losing players due to racial insensitivity about Black Lives Matter. and it said the only 5-star recruit in program history is leaving Lynchburg and blames the university administration, to say the least. And I'll just read a few paragraphs here. When Tavion Land made his decision to attend Liberty University, many college football watchers were stunned. A consensus 4-star recruit who had decommitted from Maryland to head to the private school without a conference in Lynchburg, Virginia, it seemed like an odd move at the time. And it turns out he'll have only played one season at the school founded by religious leader Jerry Falwell, as Land has announced his intention to transfer due to the racial insensitivity displayed by leadership. So as a result of this tweet of Jerry Falwell Jr.'s with the just literally tweeting a picture of blackface, he basically the football player, and I'm going to read from his post on Twitter here, which came out in loading, which came out on June 22nd. He wrote a little something here. He wrote, "My short time spent with the athletic department and most professors at Liberty University was much appreciated as it helped me and improve my skills, gain new experience, and meet a diverse group of friends. Unfortunately, due to the racial insensitivity displayed by leadership at Liberty University, I've decided to enter my name into the transfer portal and no longer be a student athlete at Liberty University. I pray that I am able to be provided with an opportunity at a new school that respects my culture and provides a comfortable environment. Bless it. #BLM.
Good for him.
To which I'll say, like, fucking good on him.
Yes.
Like, wow.
Yes.
Again, like, from everything that we've learned about the terrifying, like, freaking KGB style information control that comes out of that university, like, between the black head of diversity at, like, the actual position at the school and this, like, extremely talented, NFL bound recruit, like, having to publicly leave and probably make public statements to protect themselves, to, like, expose themselves and expose the issues at hand that was the reason for them leaving, takes an incredible amount of courage. This place is fucked up.
Yeah. And it's failing these kids. Like, like they're not getting a good education. They're not even, like, you're supposed to get an education at college, but you're also supposed to get prepared for the real world. But this doesn't seem like a university that's capable of that, just due to the nature of it. Yeah.
Well, they are getting something, which is one more thing I'll say. They're getting coronavirus.
Oh, shit.
Again, this was Liberty University, and I remember this from March, from, like, the beginning of it, while Liberty University was in their spring 2020 session. And I'll just read the title of this article. It was from the Daily Beast from March 29th. It says, "Nearly a dozen Liberty University students sick with coronavirus symptoms after Falwell reopened campus." Do you remember that? Because I very vividly remember it. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, and they are now into their first week of academic classes back at university, and they were not requiring COVID tests for returning students in the fall for this fall semester.
Oh man, damn! Just
terrifying.
Yeah. They don't care about those kids. That's a cash cow. Like, the whole thing exists just to have that web of money. Like, everybody, like Jerry Falwell's son gets, like, the contract to manage the shopping mall, and, like, the dude who bangs his wife gets the contract to have a gym inside. The other dude who bangs his wife gets to have a fucking real estate, manage a hostel. And they have all these rich donors that they have to keep happy. It's the whole thing. That's why the kids are just looked at as just people that can fuck off and die and get into debt and just for these people to continue their life cycle. But they're not even happy. Like, I started thinking about them. Jerry Falwell is not a happy dude. Like, these motherfuckers are miserable. Like, there's no joy. Like, every personal, like, relationship these people have is, like, has a business attachment to it. It's like, down to their childhood friends, their siblings, even their family, it's all, like, flailing around in the same big, like, web of money. And it vibrates every time somebody, like, breaks ground or develops a new subdivision or, buys and absorbs another company into it. And he can't escape it. Like, he can get in his private yacht, he can get in his yacht, he can get in his McMansion, but, like, he's always just surrounded by, like, just, like, a stockade of, like, just filth. Just, like, everybody's reduced to, like, just slop fiending oinkers, just trying to get at the trough. It's like he's miserable, and you can tell, like, he's not fucking happy, and he's boring as shit. I fucking hate him. Like, you don't have, like,
he's a dim bulb. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, his dad had, like, this fiery, hatred in him. You know, at least that was something. And his grandfather.
Yeah, at least he was fueled by bigotry. Junior doesn't
Exactly.
even, his bigotry doesn't even fuel him.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just yeah. And he's just wrapping this like banality of evil. You know, just like boringly muttering shit as he zip lines around. He's like the coldest, saddest product of America. Like he's like if you was doing an autopsy on like a corpse and you just cut open the large intestine and you just scooped up the turd. He's like the cold turd from a dead animal. Like he's fucking. There's nothing alive. It's putrid. Like it's just. We deserve better villains, man. Fuck. Oh goddamn!
There's another, there's another really funny story I just thought of that I wanted to maybe just sort of summarize briefly. Because like Michael Cohen is also a character. It's really hilarious that he's also like a character in this. Like he's the one that like, supposedly at least he claims trying to help Falwell get rid of pictures of his wife and shit that because he was being blackmailed and stuff.
What?
Oh yeah, there's several Michael Cohen angles. That's
no way.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think the even funnier one is that I guess in 2016, maybe 2015, I don't know, probably 2016, the Trump campaign hired this guy. I don't know, I can't remember his name. Hired some fucking nerd, like some data, like IT guy who worked, who was like a Liberty University employee. But they hired him to like rig online polls, to like manipulate online polls into Trump's favor. And it's like not even anything that matters. It's like, you go to like MSNBC.com or fucking like Yahoo.com poll, like which presidential like who gives a shit? Like they spent like $50,000. They hired this guy for $50,000 to manipulate these polls. He came to New York to receive the payment from Michael Cohen, and he brought with him Jerry Falwell Jr.'s son, Trey Falwell, who's like another, idiot.
Trey.
Which is, of course, yeah,
fucking hell. Yeah.
It's so
Jesus
perfect.
Christ.
Yeah, it's great. So he took him with him, probably at Trump's bidding, but probably Trump told him to do this, but Cohen fucked them over. Michael Cohen was supposed to give them $50,000. He gave them $12,000. And then
that's so Trump.
It gets even funnier because, and then like that same night, I guess while they were on the trip, like from a hotel room in New York, Trey Falwell posts a picture of all of the money like spread out on the bed sheets. It's like probably like hashtag hustle, hashtag had to grind for this, just some
making
shit like
deals.
that probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like later had to delete the picture, obviously. But like implicated himself, implicated like the Falwell family directly in this this little scam. Yeah, it's so funny.
Elron, you're so right. We need better villains.
Yeah, we deserve it. I mean, these boring little fucks, man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Jerry Falwell was like he would have been a good villain. He's dead now, Trump's a good villain, but Don Jr. is a shitty one, and he's going to be the next, Trump's going to die soon, and then Don Jr., Tom Cotton, all these boring, evil fucks. Ben Shapiro's stupid. Like, we deserve better than this, man. It's just, but that's what it's coming to as capitalism. Like, it's just like, but that's what America is. Like, there's nobody more American than like the fucking fail son of a con man. Like, that is fucking what this is. Oh, that is where it's going.
There's nothing more American than the fail son of a con man.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm getting a tattoo of that dude. That's good.
That's who we get. That's who we get at the late stage of it, right? I mean, we can beat these fuckers. They're dumb as shit.
And it doesn't take much. It takes like a weekend of mass organization.
Yes. People organize like that, we undefeated, When the people come together, we can't lose. Because they don't know how to react. They would never know how to react to that, but they've done such a good job of making everybody cynical. To where they think we can't come together, or they do a good job in manipulating us to hate each other. Like you said, it's like you were saying, Chris. Facebook is such a fucking cesspool. Like they'll turn anything into a fucking cultural, avenue to fight because that's all we have. Because we have no idea that like our we can improve our lives through politics. We think culture is politics, so let's just fight about these certain things, because we think that's where our power is, when our power is within each other, you know, connecting with each other.
Oh, I mean, Elron, I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying this on air, but I just think I came up with a purpose for the venomous snake that you have in the back of your truck.
Okay. I think I'm gonna be driving to Lynchburg soon. Yeah.
You know,
Parody,
allegedly.
I think I've said this on. I think I've said this on the show before. I definitely said this on Twitter. But when I was in high school, we got really drunk one night on like a Friday or Saturday night or something. And then me and my friend Ian, we drove all the way, like hammered. We drove all the way to Lynchburg so we could piss on Thomas Road Baptist Church, which was Jerry Falwell Sr. was still alive. It was his church. And we like both like took a piss on his church. And then like we went back to my car and like I like wanted to make sure they knew I did it. So I like wrote a note like, I drove here from Richmond to piss on your church.
No way.
I taped that.
No way.
Yeah. That was a really fun thing to do in high school. Yeah.
Hell yeah. That fucking rules. Oh,
so,
man.
you know, if you're anywhere near Lynchburg, you know, instead of piss, maybe
Parody. No.
Come
on, we're just wrapping up the episode, man.
It's fine,
Jesus
it's fine.
Christ.
It's
no,
fine.
it's not fine.
Of course it is.
No, it's not.
We get about 10,000 gallons of jet fuel. I don't know where we're going to find it. But we take that and we use that to light something else on fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna take flight lessons at the Liberty University.
No,
don't ask to land. Yeah.
I'm not gonna bother learning how to land.
No. I refuse. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man.
I think I pop a blood vessel in my eye.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, we're ending it here. This story is fucked up. This shit is weird.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Why did we start this show? Elron, thank you for joining us.
Thank y'all. I
appreciate it, man.
I needed this after the day I had, man. This is a good way to wind down and relax, and it's great to see friendly faces and hear y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Likewise, brother.
I love the show. Yeah,
I know you may not have much to plug, but please, everybody follow at Elron Mexico on Twitter.
Thank y'all.
Yep, come back anytime, man.
Just let me know. You know, I ain't doing shit. You know.
Stay safe south of I-10. There's a lot of reptiles and stuff coming.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, everybody. Stay cool, folks.
Take care. I gotta feed my dog.
1971, that's when it all begun. A little college down in VA gained attention. 154 students, man, how could they manage? Now we the biggest Christian university on the planet. We don't take it for granted. Humble with our rhetoric. Academics are a must, so we are accredited. Got some rules and regulations, it ain't nothing too tough. Understand discipline builds integrity in us. Yeah, we have that curfew. No, it will not hurt you. You call it rules, we call it structure. Holiness we pursue. Sending missionaries to China, Japan, and Peru. Jerry Falwell Jr. our founder, we give honor to. Him and his wife make the vision plain. Champions for Christ, what he set to train. Controversy follow us because of his name. But we gon' set the world on fire and we'll start it with a flame. Where the motto sounds, if we turn away from Christ, burn our school to the ground. Got teachers leading lectures who are world renowned. Ask around and they'll tell you that we run this town. They say we close-minded, saints from the south, but if you too open-minded, then your brains will fall out. Without a doubt, our mission's more precious than pearls. This is the most exciting university in the world. Over 60 majors, we got what you need. Over 21A athletic teams. And don't be shocked when you see us in the orange bowl. Don't be shocked when you see us in the final four. In your spiritual life, if you're trying to grow, you need to be here. That's what he designed us for. So we changing the world, one alumnus at a time, and we're changing lives, one diploma at a time.